Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to a very special morning edition of Let's Learn Stuff. If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done.
Let's learn stuff!
With Victoria Sautee. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Glittery Bunker. It's bright and early on a Sunday morning, and I'm so glad to see you all showed up to have some breakfast with me. I hope you like my new hairdo. It's inspired by Petula Clark and a color inspired by everything, darling, everything, especially my little drink here. I have something cold. I've got something hot. Look, it's even got my picture on it. Delicious, and we're here to talk about breakfast. That's right, breakfast. Good morning. Thank you. Shelley likes my hair, and hello, Emma. I've missed you too. I have. Oh, well, don't cry, Michael. Don't cry. Just be happy that I'm here. Well, hello there, lady yourself. Yes, Dick and Jane are here, and don't worry, loves. They'll be back a little later in the broadcast. But right now we have a lot of things to talk about. I mostly want to talk to you about what we do first thing in the morning, and that's have our lovely, delicious breakfast. There it is. Now, you know, breakfast is indeed the first meal of the day. It's eaten in the morning, and most people in this country eat their breakfast at exactly 7:31 a.m. Isn't that a crazy fact? Now, in 1917, Mr. Kellogg said that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. Well, of course he's going to say that. He was trying to sell breakfast cereal. Of course he was. Oh, now, the word breakfast comes from an old English word called, you can barely see it there, morgenmittag. Can you see it? I'm trying to show it on my face. Morgenmittag, which basically translates to morning meal. That's right. That's a 15th century term. It is. Now, as far back as the Stone Age. Yes, that's right. No, that's not the Stone. That's the Stone Age. As far back as then, when men began to grind wheat. I don't know if that's what they're doing in this little photograph here, but as soon as they learned how to grind wheat, they started making porridge, eating it, and calling it breakfast. They did. And then in the Middle Ages, breakfast was only meant for the very wealthy people, like these little maidens here having their little breakfast under the trees. Aren't they just a love? And the Romans, well, they only believed in one meal a day. They didn't do breakfast. No, they saved it all for at night. They had breakfast, and it went on to, well, who knows what it went on to, darlings, but it did. In the 1600s, here's where breakfast consisted of leftovers from the night before. Maybe an old crust of bread, some cheeses, some stews. It wasn't until the 1700s that we began to eat meat for breakfast. And that was a treat, wasn't it? Especially if you're a meat lover like me. I'm sorry, vegetarians, but I do like some bacon in the morning. I do. It wasn't until the 1800s when a gentleman named James Caleb Jackson, he was a nutritionist and a Seventh-day Adventist of all things. He created the first cereal. Now, he used a wheat flour, sometimes called Graham flour, which is invented by Sylvester Graham. Now, he took this Graham flour and he added some water to it, and he baked it. And after it was done, he broke it all up into little pieces, and he baked it again because that's all he wanted to do was bake it. And then he called what he had created granola. That's right, granola. What the heck? Granola? I don't know what that is. But that's what James invented, thinking it was a healthy option. Now, hot on his tracks after the granola episode was Mr. Kellogg. That's right. That's John Harvey Kellogg there. And he took note of what Caleb was doing, and he said, I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to call it granola. You say granola, I say granola. Let's call the whole thing cornflakes, darling, because that's what Kellogg became famous for. And of course, lots of other breakfast cereals that everybody seemed to be cooking up in a city called Battle Creek, Michigan. The battle was over the breakfast. That's right, everyone was hot on. There was CW, Post, and Quaker, and Kellogg's, and everybody was there battling over the breakfast. They certainly were. I'm not going to tell you any more about that, but I'll give you some research, darling. You can just look on this movie, The Road to Wellville. There's a Matthew Broderick in there, and they're all playing all these characters from the cereal industry. It's quite a boring movie, darling, but who knows? You just might like it. I'm sorry, Matthew Broderick, if you're watching the broadcast today, but I slept through most of it. There were some funny parts. There was a laugh or two, darling. There was. Now, I hope you're all paying attention out there. Are you? I hope you all are, because we have some wonderful prizes. And the only way you're going to win prizes is if you're paying attention, because there's going to be a quiz after. I hope you all remember the movie that Matthew Broderick starred in. That was about the breakfast cereal lot. Do you? Well, you might win one of my Victoria Sautee t-shirts. That's right. I have a lovely pink Victoria Sautee t-shirt. The only way you're going to win this, darling, is if you pay attention. So maybe you'll be making some notes out there this morning. We'll make this show a little tough for you. I'm having a social distancing breakfast party right now. Yes, do send pictures, love. Paige likes the movie. Do you, Paige? Do you? It's all right. I'm sure there's plenty of people who enjoy that movie. There was some fun facts in there, weren't they? Oh, glued to the screen. Oh, darling, you better get some remover, because you're gonna need, if you want to win today, you're gonna have to pay attention and write down all my little quotes and things so that you can win. Now let's go back to cereal for a quick moment. There was I mentioned Mr. C.W. Post, who was in the battle for the breakfast cereal. He invented a product. You're not going to believe this, darling, though. It was called Postum, Instant Postum, a beverage. All right, I'll tell you what was in this beverage. He wanted it to be a healthy alternative to coffee. In this beverage was wheat and molasses. Wheat, molasses, and he wanted you to drink that. I don't know about Instant Postum. But he followed that up with something that I don't know. Maybe you like it. Maybe Paige likes it. It's another cereal called Grape Nuts. I don't want to eat the nuts of a grape. Usually if you get one of those little things, you spit it out. But he invented, it wasn't really the nut of a grape, darling, but it looked like it. And he called it food for the brain and food for the nerves. I just want breakfast. I want it to look like this. I do. Now, let's jump ahead to 1916. Now, in that year, there was a surplus of oranges. That's right, they had grown too many. They didn't know what to do with them. So the orange growers came up with a campaign, and it was called Drink an Orange. Drink an Orange. And they wanted to sell that orange and make them into juice, they did. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately for them, but unfortunately for this country, there was a pandemic, unlike the one we're in today. And it was advertised that drinking orange juice would be healthy for you in times of the pandemic. And that's why we drink orange juice in the morning, darling. It's all because of advertising. All because of advertising. Now, we also drink coffee in the morning, don't we? Now, here's a little snapshot of, you know what that is, don't you? It's the Boston Tea Party, isn't it? Now, that's the reason we drink coffee in this country. I admit it is. Now, our founding father, John Adams, was very adamant, and he renounced the drinking of tea following the Boston Tea Party, and he started drinking coffee every morning. And now that's the reason we drink the coffee now. How about that? A little bit of American history for you. Now, speaking of American history, do you know anything about Eggs Benedict, darling? No? It was not named after Benedict Arnold, as some people wrongly think. Eggs Benedict has a lovely history to it. Now, there's two stories of how this came. I'm going to give you both of them because that's the type of lady I am today. Now, the first story is it's a product, no matter how you slice it, it was a product of New York City in the Gilded Age. That's right. Now, here at Delmonico's, there's Delmonico's, a lovely, very famous restaurant. Here's the interior there. Look at how fancy those people are. I know it's a small black and white picture, but you can just imagine how they're dressed. Mr. and Mrs. Legrand Benedict were there, and they ordered, by request, poached eggs on toast with ham and cover that with hollandaise sauce. And we're meant to believe that that's how Eggs Benedict was invented. Or we can have another story that took place at New York City's Waldorf Astoria, where a slightly inebriated Lemuel Benedict stumbled in one morning after a night on the town, and he requested toast, bacon, poached eggs, and I quote you, a hooker of hollandaise. I think he had a hooker of something else the night before, but he wanted a hooker of hollandaise. A hooker in that time meant a scoop, a big scoop. I think a hooker still means a big scoop, don't you, darling? Well, and of course, hollandaise. If you don't know what I'm talking about, hollandaise is a lovely sauce. It's from the 1500s. It's made with egg yolks and melted butter and lemon. It was initially called Dutch sauce, that's right, and it is one of the 5 mother sauces of French cooking. Mother sauces, that's right. I think maybe next time I see you, I'll invite Mother Sauce over, and we can have a chat. Don't you think that would be lovely? Shelley's favorite is Eggs Benedict, I think, or maybe a hooker of hollandaise, Shelley. And this show is making me hungry. It will do that to you, Valerie. It will do that. Paige likes them drizzled with honey. I'm going to think is that the grape nuts, Paige? I think maybe that's what you're drizzling about. That's right. Now, here's one of my favorite little breakfast treats. Oh, I have to get that little quote down there. We don't want that there all day now, do we? There we go. Here we are. Thanks, Paige. Now, meanwhile, back to the broadcast. Well, my favorite breakfast is a good old Pop-Tart. Now, I want to tell you about Pop-Tarts. It's a Kellogg's product, the Pop-Tart, of course. We know it, but it was actually invented by Mr. C.W. Post. Yes, good old Post and Post. He was working on a new toaster pastry called Country Squares. And then John Henry Kellogg, he got wind of this, and he put into production Pop-Tarts so fast your heads will spin. Country Squares came out much later, but Pop-Tarts were there, and people enjoyed their tarts. There was a little toaster called Milton the Toaster, and he was the one who would do the little commercials, and Kellogg's found that it was so popular they couldn't keep them on the shelves. Thank you, Milton. And thank you, Mr. Post, for inventing something that we don't eat anymore. Now, of course, Pop-Tarts would be nothing if it wasn't for the toaster. That's right, the toaster. Toast is simply toast. You know toast? Yeah, we all know toast. Oh, hello, toast. How are you doing? Toast is simply bread that has been browned by radiant heat. Now, that process is called the Maillard reaction. That's right, the Maillard reaction. It's a chemical reaction between amino acids and reducing sugars that give food that brown color. And we have to thank for that a lovely chemist, a French chemist named Louis Camille Maillard, who coined this phrase in 1921. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know how toast is made. But when we began toasting things, we would use a lovely implement called can you see it? Oh, you can barely see it. You see it on my face there? It's called a toasting fork. A toasting fork, darling. It was held over I'm showing it to you on my forehead. Yeah, look at that. It was held over a grill or an open fire, and that's how you toasted your bread. Now, the very first commercial successful toaster was created by General Electric in 1909, and there it is there. That's called the D12 toaster. It looks sort of like some curlers, electric curler set that's gone bad, or some sort of torture device for mice. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like I want to eat my toast in that, love. I'm glad they came up with the pop-up toaster. Here it is. In 1919, Mr. Charles Strite created this very, very handsome toaster. Now, Pop-Tarts were the thing, and people started reaching for breakfast on the go in the 60s. They did. And so everyone had to come out with, what can I eat for breakfast fast? Well, there was toasties from Howard Johnson put them out in the stores. The little corn muffins that you slide in your toaster, and then they come out, and you put some butter on that. Anything tastes good with butter, darling. Even Postum probably tastes good with butter. And then there was breakfast squares. That was for squares. Apparently, they were, as the package tells us, moist and tasty. Well, thank you for letting us know what they're going to be like. And here's a very clever advertising campaign. These are called Fast Break. Fast Break, not breakfast. Fast Break. When you want your breakfast on the go like that lady does, with a little glass of milk. She's showing you her big bite she took out of that. Here's another early 60s product, Danish go-arounds. And they barely fit in your toaster, love. I used to eat these. They would burn in your toaster, and all that lovely little sugar and granules would melt off and often cause a little fire. That's right. All of the toaster pastries come with a warning saying that this might catch on fire. Well, because one time, early days of Pop Tart, something caught on fire. So now it might catch on fire, just so you know, darling. We love our breakfast in this country. We like it fast, don't we? And that's why we've created the Hamilton Beach dual breakfast machine, so that we can cook. Look at that. Look at that machine. They've thought of everything, haven't they, in that? And you don't even have to wash it. You just put your eggs in there, and it comes out, and you've got yourself a lovely little sandwich. Here's another little breakfast machine. Look, there's a toaster and a little burner so you can poach your egg, darling. Isn't that cute? How about this all-in-one unit where you can have your coffee there, you have your toast inside the little oven, and then you have like a griddle for your sausages and your eggs on the top. Why not just have a kitchen, darling? Just have a kitchen. Have it. It's ridiculous what we'll do for a fast breakfast. It really was the people at McDonald's who decided this is what fast breakfast is. That's right. There's your first look at the McDonald's breakfast menu. It was a Mr. Herb Peterson who created the Egg McMuffin back in 1972. What a hit that was, right? We've never had an Egg McMuffin before that. There's Herb there with his lovely little children in front of him. He looks like he's had one too many. He looks like he needs some Eggs Benedict with a hooker of hollandaise, doesn't he? He doesn't look like he's eating those. He looks like he's drinking those. He is. Oh, but he's a lovely man. Now, Herb designed the Egg McMuffin because he wanted it to look like an on-the-go takeaway version of the Eggs Benedict. And it all goes round in circles, doesn't it, love? It all goes round in circles. Now, when I want a fast and easy breakfast, I reach for this. It's HP's all-day breakfast, which in England they call it breakfast in a can. I need a little sip of this. Breakfast in a can is a British traditional favorite. I'm going to read you the description from the back of the can. It is a English melange of baked beans, sausages, mushrooms, chopped pork, bacon, egg nuggets. What's egg nuggets? Egg nuggets, and combined and held together with cereal. It is a hearty, convenient kickoff to your day filled with indigestion and remorse. I don't know that I could do it, but just for the record, the same people who give us all-day breakfast in a can are the same ones who created Dad's brown sauce. Yes, you might want to put some Dad's brown sauce on top of your breakfast in a can. Those Brits, what do they know? I'm so glad I'm from Australia, darling. Now, whether you're in Britain or Australia, you get two breakfasts. That's right. In this country, we only get one. But over there, you get 11 Z's. 11 Z's. Isn't that a cute little word? It's 11 with some Z's at the end. It's a British tradition, and it's a short, smaller second breakfast that you eat around about 11 o'clock. Maybe you have some cookies and a tea. Now, in America, we call that a coffee break. As we just call it a coffee break. It's just much easier. And it's a hoity-toity term, isn't it? 11 G's. Now, hoity-toity is actually not a British word. It's a French word from hautoir, which means high roof. Hoity-toity. Now, of course, we're talking about the coffee break, and now when we go on a coffee break in this country, we probably go to our little drive-through Starbucks and order a mocha chocolate ya or some such thing. And there's Starbucks everywhere, isn't there? I think I have one right behind the glittery bunker. Actually, it's just a little outpost, but I do have it there. But back in the day, we didn't drink Starbucks coffee, no, especially in New York City. We drank chock full of nuts. It's the heavenly coffee. We couldn't get enough of chock full of nuts. It was established in 1921 by Mr. William Black. I hope you're getting all this down, who sold nuts to theatergoers in Times Square. Then he said, but I should sell something else too. I'll sell some coffee. I'll sell some sandwiches. And he started a chain of little breakfast and lunch counters. They look like that. They're peppered all over New York City, chock full of nuts. And they specialized in a sandwich called the nutted cheese sandwich. It was cream cheese with chopped walnuts served on a slice of raisin bread. Delicious to some. But people, they couldn't get enough of it. Coffee was only 5 cents. Look at them there. Look at all the people in there lined up at the tables. This is like my Starbucks in the morning, and all I want is a cup of coffee while everyone else is getting their nutted cheese sandwiches, darling. That's right. I love chock full of nuts so much. I want to show you an entertaining little jingle here. Pardon me for a moment and enjoy this.
Why is this can of chock full of nuts coffee the #1 premium coffee in the United States?
Because chock full of nuts is richer and stronger. You get 1/3 more cups, and that saves money.
Chock full of nuts perfected one grind that brews heavenly coffee in all coffee makers.
This is the best coffee I ever tasted. It's delicious, invigorating.
Chock full of nuts is that heavenly coffee. Better coffee a millionaire's money can't buy.
I love that jingle. I love it. It's an earworm, it is. And I love the singer there. That's Paige Morton Black. And if you've been following it, she's the wife of William Black, who created Chock full of Nuts. That's right. She was a singer, and her claim to fame was later in her years when she sang that jingle. That's right. Poor little Paige. But it's a cute little clip, isn't it? I love how excited they are about their coffee, aren't they? Here's another one of my favorite little clips I'm going to show you. I'll be right back.
The mini wheats are coming! Oh, they're all American cereals, made from natural wheat. Oh, they're crisp and crunchy, sugar, cinnamon, frosted mini wheats.
The crunchy little wheat biscuits.
Frosted 2 delicious ways. Plain sugar or brown sugar cinnamon.
Now that's tasty, crunchy.
Roger! Oh, they're all American, sugar, cinnamon, frosted mini wheats.
From Kellogg.
Well, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the jingle, and that little girl is like, Roger. I love it. I loved frosted mini wheats, and when I was a young child, I insisted to my mama that I have frosted mini wheats as soon as I finished learning that jingle. And here to tell us a little more about some of your favorite cereals and some unusual ones you might not know about is our good friend and a frequent guest here on Let's Learn Stuff. Let's bring on Mister Dazzle. Mr. Dazzle, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning, Victoria. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm awake. I actually am awake.
Oh, so am I. I'm just barely there.
Well, I'm going to hand over the screen to you, love, and I want you to enthusiastically explain some cereals to our guests.
Of course,
Mr. Dazzle, all yours. Take it away.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and it's good to see you again after this long time. I am somewhat of a cereal enthusiast, as the title today suggests, and I thought that I would talk to you today about some cereal mascots and some cereals that maybe you weren't as familiar with. You know, we all sort of know Lucky the Leprechaun or Dig'em the Smacks Frog. You know, there are modern ones that are still on shelves, but there are so many cereals that have existed and come and gone, and I thought it would be fun to sort of dive into that. So the first one today I want to talk about is one that you may already have heard of. It's called Quisp. Quisp was a Quaker cereal, and the mascot was this little alien. He was designed by a gentleman named Jay Ward, who it was the guy who created Rocky and Bullwinkle. and Dudley Do Right and cartoon characters of that nature. And he is described as, and I quote, the Crown Prince of Planet Q. He used to be the foil to a construction worker named Quake, and their serials eventually dueled it out at some point in the 70s, and Quisp won. It was later discontinued, but it can still be ordered online today, thanks to the internet. Wonderful. Next one is Wackies. Wackies, yes, the Wackies oat cereal with sweet banana flavor bits. Wackies was exactly that. There was oddball shapes, and it was one of the earliest cereals to have marshmallows in it. And these marshmallows were banana flavored as well, so that was sort of a particular novelty. And our spokesperson was this young child, and his pet gorilla, actually, who was oddly drawn to look like an orangutan. But regardless, he would spend all of the jingle time describing odd things to do with his animal friend, and then say, but guess what's even wackier? And offer up these delightful cereal shapes. Wackies from the 1960s, I believe. Our next one today, which I'm already in love with, is Okays. Kellogg's Okays, the brawny new oat cereal. These were invented in 1959, and they decided that they were going to name it Okays, not because it was just okay, but because the shapes of the cereal were O's and K's. The spokesperson is Big Otis, the Scotsman, and apparently on this box he has a catapult game, which I'd love to play. But later on, he was actually replaced by Yogi Bear at some point, I believe in the late 60s. Okay, speaking of Kellogg's Okays, the next one is OJ. Kellogg's OJs. These weren't released until the 80s, but they are an orange-flavored cereal that contained 10% real orange juice and other flavors. They were an orange-flavored cereal, and their mascot was a cowboy. His name was O.J. Joe, and he would lasso wild oranges on his farm, and then I guess squeeze them into cereal. It had 100% of your daily vitamin C in every serving, and it lasted for a couple of years and then disappeared. But Kellogg's OJs. Moving on, we have another fruit mascot. We have Sir Grapefellow and his nemesis, Baron von Redberry. These were introduced in the early 70s, I think 1972, by General Mills. And Sir Grapefellow was a World War I pilot. His cereal was oat with grape flavoring, and it also had, quote, grape star bits inside it. And then Baron von Redberry was his berry-flavored rival. Their commercials would feature both cereals, and it would be them foiling each other back and forth in planes using various contraptions and methods of deceit. Next one here. Oh, my goodness. The Freakies. The Freakies, everybody. This is my favorite find in the whole world. The Freakies are a team of 7 weird-shaped monster friends who are wandering through the wilderness and come across a tree that grows cereal. Yes, there is a backstory to this cereal. They find a tree that grows cereal in the golden sunlight, and each of the Freakies has their own distinct personality, and all of the commercials would go into their backstories. It was like watching a cartoon. If they made a show of this, I would watch it. On the box, you have, well, it's hard to see, but there's Goody Goody there, and there's Ham Hose is the yellow one hanging from the tree. Boss Moss was the leader of them. He's down the green one there. Oh, what a good time to be alive, 1973. Our next one is called Product 19, which is as appetizing as Area 51. I just don't understand the name, but Kellogg's, back when they were developing this, Total cereal had come out, and Total's claim to fame was that it was the total meal. It was totally healthy for you. It had everything you needed, and Kellogg's needed something to fight that. So they came up with a cereal that was made of corn, wheat, rice, and oats, and contained 10 essential vitamins. And they called it Product 19. The reason why is actually up for speculation. There's really not a set reason. Some people think it's the 19th product they ever made. Some people think it's the 19th thing they came up with that year. I'm not really sure. But it lasted a very long time. It went into limited release, and it ended up being discontinued, I think, in 2014, which is a long time. It was around for like 40 or 50 years, and I've never seen it. So good for you, Kellogg's, for making a name stick. Oh, we have Crazy Cow up next. Crazy Cow, the cereal that turns your milk chocolate. Or, if you like strawberry Crazy Cow, it's the cereal that turns your milk strawberry. That was its whole claim to fame. Each cereal was just little round pellets, and they had a little bit of extra flavoring. It was like a drink mix on there, and when you poured milk on it and let it sit, it would seep into the milk and give it a flavor. Very novel for the time, honestly, and it's been copied since. Some people, I think you may have had Cocoa Krispies. They did the exact same thing, but Crazy Cow was the first that I can tell. Oh no, don't make me say it. It's Raisin Squares. Oh God. So this cereal, I don't understand this cereal. This one I discovered, and it was the first of 3 that Kellogg's came up with that were wheat wrapped around dried fruit. They also had apple cinnamon squares and strawberry squares. But why did they start with raisin? The idea of biting into something made of wheat and finding a raisin is so wrong. That's not a present, that's a punishment. Raisin Squares, everybody. Didn't last very long. Now, in the 80s, there were a lot of different cereals that had mascots. All these different properties were coming out, like Rainbow Bright and My Little Pony, and Nintendo was new. Donkey Kong Jr. had his own cereal. But my favorite one, it's not E.T., but it's Mr. T. Mr. T had a cereal in 1984, and it was T-shaped. And the idea was that you could get Mr. T stickers or prizes inside if you ate his delicious T-shaped cereal. And I guess he pitied the fool who didn't eat a healthy breakfast. I just love the idea that of all the mascots that got a cereal, this was a real life person. Like Mr. T was a man. He wasn't a cartoon. He was made into a cartoon, but he existed, and he had a cereal. And I think that's wonderful. So that is my journey through the oddities of the cereal world. I'm very glad that I could share that with you, Victoria.
Yes, I think one of my favorite things was when you described the Crazy Cow cereal as little pellets.
It's a hard thing to describe cereal in an appetizing way.
Well, I know, but pellets, well, it's lovely. I've laughed about that for a long time. It was a very interesting little expose you gave us on the cereal industry.
I'm glad I can share. Hey, dive into the history of anything and you'll dig up some gold, let me tell you.
That's right. Well, I hope you'll come back and visit with us again when we're back next month.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dazzle.
Good morning, everybody, and bye.
Oh, some pellets. He also mentioned General Mills in there, and General Mills would be a lovely character to have on the show when we have Mother Sauce on here too. Well, we'll be back in just a moment after these brief commercial messages.
It's time to listen and laugh at Pantochino Podcast Mini Musicals. The Wizard of Oz, sort of. Super Groovy Aladdin. Beauty and the Beast, sort of. Little Red Riding Boots. The Ethel Mermaid. Pantochino Podcasts, now broadcasting on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Listen now and laugh. It's Pantochino Summer 2020, featuring Pantochino Podcasts, mini musicals broadcast everywhere. Pantochino Curbside, bringing musical theater to your front door. Victoria Sautee's Let's Learn Stuff. All this and more in Pantochino Summer 2020. Find out all the details at pantochino.com.
Well, you know what I like to do on Sunday mornings after I finish my breakfast? I like to play a nice round of the match game. That's right, it's the match game, so get ready, friends. We have some very special guests. They're back. I'd like to reintroduce you to Fun with Dick and Jane.
Hello.
Hey, what's that? How have you both been, darlings?
Oh, I've been well. I've just been, taking care of myself and the family and the dog.
Nice.
And the cat.
That's
Yeah,
so nice. And
nice.
you, Jane?
Great! I'm doing great!
Well, wonderful. Well, let's get right to it and play some match games, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So this first question, you're going to be trying to match what Jane says. All right. So here we go. Silly Sally was making breakfast, but instead of putting her frozen waffles in the toaster, she put them in her blank. Silly Sally was making breakfast, but instead of putting her frozen waffles in the toaster, she put them in her blank. All right, let's see what you've come up with as it's busy writing an answer down. Let's see.
Oh, I got one.
Great.
You gotta move that little purple box. It's blocking my view.
I can't, darling. I'm sorry. She put them in her Hamilton oven. With it. She put them in her purse. Clever girl.
Who said that?
She put them in her pocket.
It's a waffle. You see the size of my pockets?
She put them in the dishwasher.
Jeez.
We have any more guesses? I think we'll call it a round. Let me get the music stopped for a moment there because it's getting in my hair. All right. What did you say? She put them in her what? She put them in her freezer.
Yeah, they're frozen. So I put them in the freezer.
Well, that's a lovely answer. That's wonderful. Nobody matched you, darling, but that's all right. Let's say we have a round with Dick. All right. This one's for Dick, everybody. So here we go. Dizzy Donna was so dizzy, instead of a breakfast of frosted flakes, she made a breakfast of frosted blank. Dizzy Donna was so dizzy, instead of a breakfast of frosted flakes, she made a breakfast of frosted blank. There's the music. Don't have any answers yet for this one, darlings. I'm sure they're there. Just a delay. There's a delay. Bananas.
Bananas?
Frosted bananas. That
sounds delicious.
Frank's. Granola. Well, I think we'll call it off and let's see what did you say, darling?
I said she made a breakfast of frosted snakes.
Frosted snakes?
Frosted snakes.
Frosted flakes, frosted snakes.
Yes, I like to rhyme.
Well, nobody got that one, so here's one for both of you then, darling.
Oh, gee.
All right, are you ready,
All right,
darling?
I'm ready.
Grape nuts just came
Let
in.
me fix my dress.
All
All
right.
right.
This one, right?
Yeah.
Dick likes his eggs over easy.
I do.
But when making breakfast, Jane served them to him over blank.
Ooh.
Dick likes his eggs over easy, but when making breakfast, Jane served them to him over blank. Over his head.
Oh, that sounds like Jane.
Yeah, it does. Oh, you done with the music?
No, it'll come back. Like a bad penny, that music will come back.
Yeah.
Frosted snakes. Now we have the snakes.
That was last round.
Over his lap. Oh. Served them his eggs over his lap. Over the top. Over the top, that's good. I think that you like them over the top, don't you?
I like everything over the top.
That's nice. Over under. Over under. All right. Let's see what we have. I'm going to turn the music down for a moment. Oh, wait, we have one more. over spaghetti and hot dogs.
Oh.
Oh, that kid loves that spaghetti and hot dogs.
Oh, boy.
Oh, all right, let's see. What did you say, Jane?
I said over. Oh. My God. Tape doesn't stick like it used to. Over rotten.
Over rotten, I see. What did you write, Dick?
I said, well, she did this actually last week. She served them over his head.
Over his head, so we have a match on the Shelley and Don.
Oh, they won!
So Shelley and Don, I have a victorious Sautee button just for you. Isn't that lovely? Thank you, Dick and Jane. We're going to play one more round with me before calling it a day.
With you, okay.
All right. So here's our final round for the day before we have to go. It's an easy one. Blank Mary. Blank Mary. I've got my answer written in. I do. Yes. Finally, Shelley and Don have been playing the match game for a long time. And here we are in our final round, Emma. So we have Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Seems to be there. There we have Virgin Mary. We have Poppins Mary. Oh, and the music just got jazzy. We have Scary Mary, Saucy Mary, Scary Mary, Virgin Mary. Yes, we have we have some Virgin Marys and some Bloody Marys. I'm afraid none of you, though, guessed my Mary. All right, enough there. So my answer was Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary. I think she's a lovely lady, and she deserves a musical written just about her. Now, I told you I have a big prize today. So before we go, I have a question for the first person who can answer the question and win the T-shirt, darling. What was the name of the vocalist who sang the Chock Full of Nuts jingle? What was the name of the vocalist, the female vocalist, who sang the Chock Full of Nuts jingle? If you were writing down your answers, you would know this. Now, I can just imagine you all sitting out there. Emma's close. Mrs. Black, she remembered that fact. Paige remembers. Paige! Ackles, put them together with Paige Black. Paige Black. What's her maiden name? Which is what her singer's name was. Paige. Can't joke. There it is. Paige Morton Black. Valerie's put it together. Valerie, this lovely T-shirt is for you. We'll pop it in the mail, or we'll find out where you live and stick it in your box, your mailbox, darling. Now, Florence Anderson just came in there. So, darlings, it's been such a fun show today. For those of you who were so curious as to my drink, it was actually some club soda and some Powerade to sort of give you the impression of a cocktail when actually it was nothing. But my coffee is actually water, too. I'm giving away all my secrets, and the next secret I want to give you is that we'll be back with another special edition of Let's Learn Stuff, not in the morning, but in the evening. I want you to mark your calendars for Thursday, August 20th at 7 p.m. for a special after dark version of Let's Learn Stuff. There'll be brown sauce for sure. I can't wait to see you all there. In the meantime, continue to wear your masks, darling. That's right. Wear them wherever you go. Social distance when you go out to eat. Don't eat indoors. I'm sorry to say it. That's just how I feel. Take care of each other. Be kind to each other. And for goodness sakes, let's all be kind to each other. I love you all, darlings. Until August.
If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done. With Victoria Sautee.
And don't forget to be kind to each other.